Okay, this second video is how to create vertical charts from your horizontal. So if we go to the horizontal that we made in the first video, I've remembered the key verse this time, so I've put that in. Now, how horizontals work is that each one of these segments within your vertical charts, these are what become the horizontal chart, sorry. These are what become your vertical chart. So each segment is equal to one vertical chart. So in this case, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 vertical charts that will come out of this one horizontal chart. So horizontal chart is the book as a whole, and the vertical charts are the individual parts of the book that we are going to study in a bit more depth. Okay, so you put all the information in this section first, and then you created the horizontal, which gave you this wonderful thing with a little editing afterwards. The next thing you do is go back to this data page, and then you press the button which is below the horizontal where it says VD. So if you press on VD, and then you can see suddenly segment 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 has appeared down here. So here they are. And what it has done now is created an individual vertical chart for you with all the paragraph titles already in there, and then all the paragraphs in proportion already represented, the segment title, the reference, the number, and so on. And so that will be for every one of the segments done for you. So again, you don't have to draw them out to yourself like with the horizontal. You don't have to draw out each individual vertical chart. The program does it all for you. Now, at this stage, you have two choices. You can either, if you are familiar with Excel and you can use it, you can just fill in the vertical chart on here. And so this then becomes your worksheet. You fill in the observations from the text inside the box, and then outside you do your 3 builds and then a segment summary. But of course, Excel is not intended to be a word processing program, so it's tricky to do that unless you are familiar with Excel and you can kind of force it to be a word processing program, then go for it. But I can't do that, so I won't even attempt to. What I would do, taking the second segment here, is you can see all of these are already highlighted for you. And so this means all you have to do is press on them, and you just press copy. And then if you open a Word document, you can then just paste. As you can see, it's slightly off, so if you click on the middle and then center, then there you go. And then you have the vertical chart now in Word, still in proportion, still with the paragraph titles, the information, the segment titles still there, all there, but now in a Word document, so it's easier to use. So for example, you would go open your Bible and you would see the observations you have made for this particular paragraph, and then you would choose relevant ones. Now, just a word of warning, you can go down here, but if you go too far down pressing return, you will get to that point, and as you can see, it moved. Now, if that happens, go back, because we don't want this to move. We don't want this proportion to grow. We want them to be in proportion to each other in scale. So please only use the space that's in there. Now, write whatever you want to, wherever you want to along this place, but do not make the box bigger than it already is. So you may write an observation from there. Oh no, don't press return, Andy. Go down. You may want to put another observation here. Maybe it's a repeated word. Maybe on the next one you've noticed a contrast or a comparison or an Old Testament quote. I still got comparison wrong there. And so on. Of course, remembering to only use words from the text, not what I'm doing right now. And so then you would do that, putting all your observations that you've already recorded in your Bible, choosing which you think are the most significant ones, along with your paragraph title, to put inside of the boxes. And then it's then simple as well to create on the outside, to create one of your builds. So you may begin your build with an observation. Your observation is that is a contrast. Paul uses this particular contrast using these words to get this idea meant to be across to the original readers. And then, of course, you would move into your interpretation, which would be, why does he use this particular contrast? Paul uses this contrast because these words in the culture of Ephesus means this certain thing. So the original readers understand that Paul is meaning this point. Of course, you wouldn't be vague like that and do an interpretation, because you'd be talking about a particular contrast that you had in mind. How he's using it in the original context. You might bring in some historical background for your BRI, or some things you've noticed in the text, repetition, and how he uses a particular word over time. However you would use it, but you would use a proper interpretation, and then, of course, a mini application or timeless truth. I can use this point in my own life in this particular situation. And then you would do that again and again. You might do another build here, perhaps another build here, making sure, of course, you know exactly where the build is from. And then, of course, you could write the segment summary underneath. Paul is so on and so forth. So as you can see, that's very easy to write in Word using this, or the alternative in OpenOffice. Much more easier to use because it is word processing program. It's also actually particularly easy for me as a grader, because if I could get your work, it's very easy for me to say highlight this particular phrase, and then this is very good. I can comment on what you've written, maybe add examples or helpful hints as well, but it's very easy for me to add on top of your work by doing this. It's much more difficult to do this in the Excel program because they are basically text boxes and you cannot comment on individual parts of text boxes, only on the whole. So I would have to highlight the entire build in order to comment on one particular part of it if I was going to do this for Excel. So it just works better in Word or a dedicated word processing program to do this. But that's essentially how you do it. To give you another example, you copy the vertical charts the Excel program has made, and you simply paste them into Word and then start writing. It's very easy to do. Just the main point, of course, again, do not make the individual boxes longer. Keep them in the same proportion that they are right now, because that's the point of it. Okay, again, if you have any questions about this process, the Vila video in particular does focus more on the creation of vertical charts, so it can really help you there. Also, the README files that you downloaded can also help you. But of course, if you do have any particular questions, you can always email me too.